तत्परं पर्याय विद्महे ज्ञानलिङ्गेश्वराय धीमहि तन्नो गुरुः प्रचोदयात्
Namaste, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Songs of the heart-to-heart conversations with the teachers and the mentors of the Gitananda family globally. Today, I'm so delighted to have with me and with us Yogacharya Sri Kant. Namaste, Sri Kant.
Namaste, Sangeeta.
It's so good. So good that you're here. Thank you for being here. You're connecting with all of us from Canada, yes?
Yes, from Ottawa.
Thank you. And so much to share about Sri Kant, and Yogacharya Sri Kant and I have not yet met in person, but 2022 looks promising. So we'll see. You were born in Senegal, Sri Kant, from an Indonesian mother and a French father. How exciting. And your family includes your beautiful sister, Aishwariya. Namaste, Aishwariya. We're so, we all love you so much and your beautiful family. And you all moved to Canada when you were young. And then you have lived most of your life in Montreal and then moved to Ottawa, where you have married and now have a beautiful family there. When you were very young, 20 years old or so, you went to Ananda Ashram and you completed the 6-month international yoga teacher training there. So I'm very curious about that experience. We'll come back to that, of course, very soon. But then you came back to Canada to become a math teacher, and you're currently a math teacher. There's something that you shared with me that I really want to read from, actually. You say, true joy is shared as you encourage students to achieve their innate potential via mindful problem solving, consistent effort, and an inquisitive mind through the study of math. This is so marvelous. So we're going to come back to this one too. I just wanted to read that from your bio. And so you have been teaching yoga to the students and staff of the schools where you teach math, and you continue to have a very active relationship with our Guruji, Yogacharya Dr. Nanda Balayogi Bhavanani, and our Guruji Amaji, and the whole Bhavanani family. So let's begin with this quote that I pulled from your bio, right? This true joy is shared when you encourage your students to achieve their innate potential via mindful problem solving. So the question I have for you to start is, what is your relationship? What has been your relationship of between problem solving, mathematical theory, yoga principles, and yoga practices from the Gitananda tradition? We begin like that.
That's a good one. Well, teaching math I've always naturally found a connection with math. I found it initially very easy, but at one point you kind of stumble and realize that if you don't put the appropriate effort, what was initially easy becomes just another language that you don't understand what's happening. In that way, I can empathize with students who like math, who dislike math, who find it easy, find it difficult. What I wrote was also in a specific context of a cultural context of North America, and sort of a main idea of students need to be accommodated for and need to have all these things put into place for them to succeed. But there's been a sort of stepping back from what their responsibilities are in order to get there. And I think we still teach math after hundreds of years because it does something that other fields they do also, but not as specific as math. And one of them is problem solving. But as we know, in problem solving, you can't problem solve if you don't have any foundation. So you need to have a minimum level of, familiarity of the concepts. You need a little bit of ability, technical ability. And then when you have that, then you can start really playing problem solving. And often students will look at a problem, which is kind of it can be the start of a teaching, or it could also be the end result of a teaching in terms of, what can they do? And when they do well, then it's wonderful. I'm just there, I show the problem, and they're happy because they've been able to solve it. But what do you do when you're not able to solve it? And then you go back to the fundamentals. And this is why there has to be, there has to be some value put to the preparation in order to get to that ability to problem solve. So it's not something that I can give them. I can give them structure, but I can't give them the ability to problem solve. And so what I mean by joy is that when you get a student who is either not confident in math or doesn't want to really put effort in math for whatever reason, because they come to me and it's not that they chose to take math, they just have to take math. How do you get them to feel success? And it's not something that can be given. So this is why, basic things, that's why I take this paramparya, this Gitananda tradition about, fundamentals, step-by-step approach is you have to put in the effort. You also need structure, and the Gitananda tradition has so many practices, so many branches, and you can easily get lost. But when you go through the 6-month course, you really have a very fundamental approach, and you get these teachings from all different angles. You don't really realize what's happening till you can step back from them and say, oh, wow, the structure of it is quite masterful. And it's not just a tradition, it's also it's a living tradition. And so you get it from myself. I did not meet Swamiji, but I got it from Amaji, and I got it from Renukaji. And then when I came again, then from Amaji and Nalini Ama also, and then Anandaji kind of started teaching more and more. And so throughout the 25 years I've been back and forth to the ashram, it's the same fundamental teachings from Swamiji, but presented in a living way, in the sense of each person, and also depending on the group, you get the information, you get the structures, you get the practices. You also are more ready to receive, or more ready to realize how much you missed in the first go around. And so all that fundamental preparation is also how I see my math classes, because if it was only math and math is the aim, it wouldn't make sense to me. It's more about how do you develop as a human being. I think that's what high school should create, a balance. Like a lot of them, maybe 90%, 95% will never use math as a discipline, but they'll use things that they can develop through math. And focusing on the fundamentals, it kind of helps there. And they have to feel success, and it's not something you can give to someone. And so the aim is trying to make them responsible for their learning, and it can be pleasant or unpleasant. Homework check. It's just saying, you're not achieving what you could achieve. And I like numbers, but I tell them also on the first day, I don't care about your grade. That is really beside the point. I take a student goes from 60 to 70 throughout a semester or throughout a year, over a student goes from 90 to 85. And I'm generalizing, but basically what I'm trying to highlight is you put in effort, there will be, karma, the principle. You put in effort, something will come back. Now, you don't get to decide how it comes back. You don't get to decide, I will get this grade at the end if I put this amount of effort, but you will get closer to what you're able to do within that time frame, within that, that structure, versus someone who finds it easy and is not mindful of their learning habits, not mindful of what they need to prepare. If they're smart enough to be able to study right before a test and do well on a test, what remains the year after? Not much. Whereas a student who's consistently putting effort is not going to get maybe the same grade, but that's not what life is about. It's not about the goal. It's about how do you prepare and how do you take that, you develop problem solving, but what you basically, we're the problem. So we're able to develop, it's not a problem, but it is, sometimes if you have difficulty towards a subject, how can you create a greater sense of ease? And that comes from your own personal effort. And so when I'm teaching in class, that's what I emphasize, is put in the effort. You're going to realize that if you're consistent in your effort, you're going to get much better results than if you're just cramming into small tidbits. If you start asking questions, that means you understand, you're thinking about it. So, there's no bad questions. It just shows that you're aware, or shows that there's something that's still not clear. And that's my job, to try to clarify it as much as I can. And so, yeah, that's the mindful aspect of teaching math.
That's marvelous. I want all math teachers to listen to this and then reach out to you to ask you for suggestions. Thank you so much. While you were speaking, I was thinking about something interesting too, which is that on the door of the ashram, there's a painted sign that says, "Enter here only if you are happy." And one of the qualities that I know both you and I appreciate very much from this living tradition of the Gitananda Parampara is the cheerfulness aspect and curating cheerfulness. So you're not just cheerful when you're in a good mood, in the same way you describe now the constant repetition, right, of always being ready, in a sense. You also cultivate cheerfulness as a choice. And because you use the word joy, I was curious to know if you are also employing cheerfulness or a joyful approach to the study of math, because some of us who are perhaps not very well versed in mathematics may find mathematics quite somber. It's not necessarily a light-hearted. There's a sense of like real fear about math if you're not understanding how the formula works and stuff like that. Do you use or do you employ joy or cheerfulness or a cheerful approach, or suggest that even to your students?
Yeah, it's I'm a little bit of an introvert as my general way. So it's funny that an introvert would decide to go teaching in high school, where students all run towards my math classes. That's a joke. I would say that just the way. So first, this is what I do emotionally for students. I encourage questions. There's no question, even if it's a question on the first thing I said 6 months behind, I'll take the time in class to answer those questions with a smile versus I already said that. I greet my students in the classroom. So as they come in, I hold the door. Sometimes it's just to remind them that there's a human being. So eye contact, just trying to create a connection, or at least, polite habits, whatever. I try not to take myself too seriously when I'm teaching. So I try to show that I enjoy the subject itself. When I'm teaching something, I step back and I say, "Isn't this wonderful?" And I know that they're wonderful. Like, we're in math class. How wonderful can it be? But no, seriously. Like, for example, I'll give you an example. In trigonometry, the most simple thing, any calculator has a cosine, tangent, and sine. And it basically creates a connection between an angle and a measurement of side. So if you have a right angle triangle, you can use this Pythagorean connection. You can use Pythagorean theorem, but you can also use trigonometry. And sometimes I just stop and say, don't you marvel at the fact that if you know an angle, you're looking at something, you just know the angle, and you know the measurement of one side, you're able to calculate the measurement of the height. It could be a cliff, it could be something like that. Like, you don't even have to climb the cliff. You just sit there, you look at it, you calculate the angle, you take a basic protractor, You know the distance between the foot of the mountain and yourself, and you can actually know the height of something. And it's wonderful. It creates connections that you, and so when we enter trigonometry, like others, branches of math have not delved into that, but you have it. You also GPS, all of this is based on trigonometry. So I'm using trigonometry as an example of, sometimes it's good to create a space where I can just stop and just think about what we're doing. And then, some students smile because they think I'm very geeky in that sense, like he's getting excited about that. So if they smile because of that, great. There's a little bit of release, can forget about it. Some actually take the time to think about, oh, this is what we're doing. And I also say math is not, it's not going to solve your problems. You're going to problem solve it. It's not going to solve it. The way you think about things, the perspective, the different branches of math help you. And I also say to them, like, think about it, the joy you get when you're able to solve something that was difficult, that is something that you're giving yourself. I'm not giving, I'm providing you a situation, and you'll decide how you approach it. But I'm putting it, a lot of common or not common, but more popular belief in teaching is that you should bring joy to the students. You should give them the ability to. I see it more as I provide a structure, I encourage, I point, but I also tell them that they don't need me to feel success. And success, it can be a subtle joy. It doesn't have to be like, if they get a new iPhone, they'll be much happier than anything I could provide them in a math class. I could be giving out iPhones, I could be giving out chocolate bars. I mean, yeah, I'll do that for Halloween sometimes. Not iPhones. I don't have those funds, but like a little candy or something like that. But the real joy is more subtle joy, and I kind of point towards that, because when they feel empowered to get there, it's something that they can recreate on their own. I don't know. It's
I think
it's not grandiose. That's not my teaching style. That's not who I am as a person. I've tried to incorporate, songs, like just simple things, but that again, sometimes I don't look at the music videos. Sometimes they say something, it makes me think of the song. I'm like, okay, let's just take a break. Let's listen, especially during COVID times. I had to teach like at one point 4 hours straight to high school students, math, like literally from 9 to 1 o'clock in the afternoon with the 20-minute break. And they had to be in the classroom confined with masks. And I would have to be teaching them 4 lessons, which is impossible. So I had to find ways to breaks. But when I played music videos, I realized some of the music videos are not really made appropriate. So I kind of had to go away from that. But I try different things. It really depends. And often I try to take the most disruptive student and let them become the fun part of my class. I let them go on of tangents. So I kind of use the strengths of students in my classroom to kind of make my classes more interesting. Some students have a very interesting mindset, has nothing to do with math, but if you give them a little bit 5-10 minute stage, it kind of makes it better for everyone. And sometimes it goes off rails, so I have to reel them back in. But those are a few ways of trying to make it a little bit more joyful and fun.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. And on the topic of music, as you brought up music, but also we can see behind you this really fascinating setup that you have there. Just caught my attention right away. So there's so many relationships that the teachings of the Gitananda Parampara has with math and numbers, yantra being one of them, of course, which deserves a whole episode, I think, with you. But music is also mathematical. There's numbers, there's rhythm, there's repetition, there's the frequency of waves that is based on mathematical relations. And you were born in a family that you shared with me earlier. That's in another conversation. repeated mantra and prayers and chants daily. So what is your relationship with sound, both culturally and also as a mathematician? Because are you seeing them? Are you able to enjoy music as culture, as sensual perception? Do you see the math in it when you listen to it? What happens in your beautiful mind when you hear music?
It's interesting. I think that is something I need to explore more. I've always been attracted to music. So my mother is a musician. She played in a traditional Indonesian group called Gamirang, and it has maybe 40 to 100 musicians playing in synchrony. I've never learned. So my mother was very, when my father and my mother had both Aishwariya and myself, it was in a way a strange upbringing, because my mother is Indonesian, but really Indonesian. My father is French, but he traveled across the world. They met in Indonesia. They got married in Australia. They had us in Senegal. And so there's a sort of mix of different cultures. And my mom spoke barely French or English, and she was scared that we wouldn't learn the language appropriately. So, but she also didn't teach us Indonesian or Javanese. So she speaks 4 languages. My father speaks at least 5 languages, but my mom wouldn't teach us Indonesian or Javanese. And so we got to practice a little bit every time we go back to Indonesia, because, well, you have to know how to ask how to go to the bathroom, or where do you sleep, or things like that. But it was for short space, just enough to get an idea. And my level of understanding of Indonesian is so poor that I can mix Indonesian and Spanish together, because they're both languages I kind of have in the background, but I have no mastery over. So it's kind of that Mongol mix and mishmash. But in terms of sound, the constant reminder that I have is my father being part, following the Soga Gakkai. It's a branch of Buddhism. And part of that is chanting. So there is a Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. And he would do that every day, and it would be anywhere between half an hour and an hour. And it's not that I would sit with him, because, I mean, I was 7, 8, 9, 10. It didn't, the words didn't make sense, but the feeling that emanated from that atmosphere created is a very beautiful, it's a very soothing one. It's a very grounding, it felt safe. It felt, it felt all-encompassing, and it did push towards something that spirituality, or I don't think a religious person per se, but I'm definitely, I enjoy the spirituality of every single religion. And it's the sound that just, it makes you feel good. In terms of training in music, they did give us, my parents did offer us piano lessons, which I had started. Unfortunately, I had to interrupt as I went from the English system to the French system, and I had to catch up a lot. And so these lessons were interrupted, and I never continued. So the only time that I would actually be singing is in bajangs at the ashram of the madam. And that is not something I would have naturally. I'd like to listen, and don't necessarily like to listen to myself sing. And also I can't remember the lyrics for any, but it was just that feeling brought me back to my childhood, and it feels good. You get into a moment where if you're not too self-conscious, then you can just let go, and let go, give in, and be part of that vibration that you feel throughout your entire body. And yeah, so I mean, I enjoy listening to music. It's part of daily life. Also, prayers at night and in the morning. I do it with my kids in the evening. Morning is a little bit rushed, but in the evening I do that. So it's a way to to stop. I'm very intellectual in certain ways, not academic, but just very cerebral. And so even the way I raise my kids, is there's an action, there's a consequence, how they're, your feelings, and we can talk about it. But I know this culture is very much pushed on, verbalizing every single step, and that's not the only way people learn, and definitely not the way children learn. But it's nice to have prayers at night, right before going to bed. It's just a moment to be one. I don't explain too much what it is. It will come with, we've been doing this since they were young, since they were born. But it is a way to just calm the mind down, to focus on something different, to have that focal point based on sound. There's also, a candle, pictures of Maharaj, Swamiji. So there's something I want to create in a way, or would like to create the same feeling of being at home that I got from my dad's prayers, and from my mom, all the culture and the tradition coming from that side of the family. I would like to offer something that is grounding to my children, that they can do on their own if they want to, or if they don't, at least we do it as just a sort of routine, going back to bed and calming the mind down and being able to let them sleep.
That's so beautiful. Thank you so much for really allowing us to come in the intimacy of your home with this sharing that you just offered us. Truly. Did your children ever ask you about the music or the prayers or the chanting, or made a comment that was a teaching moment for you, right? Or, I don't know, this is an unexpected question. I wasn't expecting to ask you this question, when why not? It just came through. So
Yes.
did they ever mention something about those that was for you like, wow, yes, particularly in regards to the voice or chanting or the bhajans or the prayers of our parampara?
They haven't verbalized anything. My son is he's a bit like me in many ways, and so they've been teaching through silence, in the sense of, as I observe them doing the practice. So my son will be very much he'll tune in very easily. It's something that comes naturally to him. Sound. I know he has, he processes a lot, and sometimes it comes out. He can be very distracted. Like if there's a book on the side, he'll walk and he'll just look at the book, and it doesn't matter if whatever he's doing, he's just like. So there are things that attract him a lot. Sound is also one of these senses that is very strong within it. My daughter is really about structure, and so sometimes she'll just turn and directly. I'm like, no. So they kind of show me that they're completely different personalities, and they experience the same event or the same situation, and they process it very differently. So that has been a learning experience in terms of acknowledging that their entry point into that space is very different. And it doesn't mean, it's not a qualitative way. It's not one is better than the other. It's just a different thing. And so he does internalize. He does talk about Amaji. He does talk about Swamiji. He does talk about, that comes in. And she does, but she's a little bit more matter of fact. And he's a little bit more, she's able to verbalize it more. So if there's some things that's happening, she'll ask, why are we doing this? Why is this? What is this? She wants to participate. Can I ring the bell? Whereas he's more like, let other people can do everything for me. It's okay. But he's like taking it in a different way.
That's wonderful. Thank you. So we are slowly coming to the completion of this episode with you. And I would like to give you the opportunity to share anything else you would like to share with us. And I also have a bit of I have a lot of questions still, but your experience with sound at the ashram, you already mentioned how when you arrived at the ashram in Ananda Ashram, you felt at home, and that a great part of that was this acoustic dimension of the prayers and of the chanting that brought you back to these childhood memories. Is there anything else you would like to share with us regarding sound in your experience of the Gitananda practices, whether it's at the ashram or in your own studies or in any other event online even that we have done, say with the Om chanting?
Mm.
Is there anything else that, like a memory or an experience that you would like to share because it has been inspirational to you and therefore maybe of inspiration to us?
Yes. So being more of an introspective, introspective is a good thing, introverted less so, but I've have to say that I've become more able to be expressive through bhajangs and chanting, and one of my favorite practices, pranava om. The thing is, these practices are supposed to help you connect and internalize in a way, but also because the sound is going outwards, it's connecting with, your surroundings. So it's not a social event, but it is an extroversion which aims for introversion. And this is the beauty of it, is that if you are an extrovert, you get that. You're like, this is easy, I can sing. But then the chanting will, not sing, but the chanting will help you bring back within. The experience lived will be, shared, but it will naturally come back. And if you're like me, who talking in public, I know I'm a high school teacher, but it wasn't easy to get there, to feel natural and feel comfortable in front of the classroom, much less sing in front of people. And that's not an option. You just have to. This is how, and there's many reasons. It's your way of giving energy back to the tradition that's sustaining you. It's your way of sharing. It's you, but it's also your way of being able to externalize, to extrovert yourself a little bit more, and that permits even better or more deeper introspection afterwards. So it's that the practice of bhajangs and Nada yoga it helps you. It does this kind of the same thing, but depending on how you enter, it will help you become a better version of yourself, regardless of what you need to work on. And it does that just very organically. And it's not something that you think about. I never thought about it before, but as you're asking the question, like, oh yeah, that's exactly what it has done, or it's permitted for me to manifest. And it's it's not something I would have decide I need to do this. It's just it comes naturally by the structure of it.
Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you very, very much. What a wonderful conversation that we really look forward to developing more. I hope to meet you soon. For all of us who are watching this, Yogacharya Sri Kant may be visiting Italy soon, so we'll make sure we'll send a picture. We'll share pictures.
That would be lovely.
And thank you so much. Thank you for being here, and thank you for sharing of your practice, of your life, and of your experience with our parampara. Thank you so much, Yogacharya Sri Kant.
Thank you, Sangeeta.
Thank you. And thank you all for watching this episode and for sharing with people whom you think may find inspiration in these conversations. Okay, bye everybody. Pranams and au revoir. Ciao, ciao. Thank you.
Loka samasta sukhinu bhavantu sarve jana sukhinu